Good evening from the National Weather Service office in Lake Charles. I'm meteorologist Donald Jones, and it's that time of year again to talk about the cold and the winter and the snow and all that stuff that we hate around here, right? I was actually looking up the other day. Apparently, we get a snowfall on average once every 6 years here in the Lake Charles area. A little bit more frequently further north, but in general, this is a very rare occurrence. But we are going to be looking at the possibility of some winter precipitation. We're also going to be looking at the possibility of some not possibility, but likelihood of some very cold air. This cold air is going to rival that we saw in the winter of 2021. If you remember, caused a lot of pipe breakages and pipe bursting conditions, including myself personally, back in 2021. This air is going to be very similar. Maybe not quite so cold, but it's going to be within just a couple of degrees of it. So that's kind of a proxy for what we are going to be looking at going into next week. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the probability of snow, and we'll give you all the latest details on that here over the next little while. As always, this is a live interactive briefing, so if you have any questions as you go through our briefing here this evening, feel free to post them in our comment section, which seems to be up and running already. Everybody's here. Yeah, we got 550 people already watching, and we'll be happy to answer them just as soon as we wrap up our briefing. Let's go ahead and jump into it here this evening. As I mentioned, a very cold air mass is going to move into the area on Sunday. It's been pretty chilly out there already the last couple of nights, but this is going to be even colder with a cold front that's going to be moving through Sunday night. Now, we're not expecting a whole lot in the way of rainfall as that front moves through. It's going to be what we call a dry front. Can't rule out the possibility of maybe a stray light shower as it rolls through, but there's not going to be much in terms of rain associated with that. It's just going to get really cold Sunday night into Monday. The potential for any kind of winter precipitation is going to be primarily on Tuesday at this point. Not ruling out very late Monday night, but I think the majority of any kind of winter precip is going to be on Tuesday through the day, from about a little bit before sunrise through the afternoon, mainly during the morning and early afternoon before temperatures get above freezing. There is a chance we could get a few degrees above freezing, and that snow kind of transitions back into rain. We're also looking at a low-end possibility of some freezing rain as well, so ice is not out of the realm of possibility with this. And even if the storm, or even if the precip falls as snow, if we get above freezing for a few hours Tuesday afternoon, that begins to melt a little bit, then it refreezes, turns into ice. It's going to have the potential to be a bit of a mess. We are looking at potentially life-threatening cold temperatures, essentially from Sunday night into Monday all the way through Thursday. The coldest night, it looks like, is going to be Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. That's when we're expecting teens across most of the area with wind chill values in the single digits. I'll show you that here in just a bit. But that is definitely going to be a life-threatening danger to anyone who is improperly exposed and outside for extended periods of time. Of course, that's also going to result in potentially significant damage to pipes. We definitely want to take full pipe precautions as we go into next week. Wrapping pipes, running water, all the works, because we're looking at the potential for pipe freezing, especially Tuesday night into Wednesday, but pretty much every day as we go through next week. Of course, any animals that are left outdoors that are not built to withstand the cold are going to be subject to life-threatening conditions as well. And agricultural crops that are not meant to freeze are certainly going to be at risk of freezing. We are expecting, again, winter precipitation. Right now, it looks like the most likely winter precip is going to be snow. We're looking at a very high probability, surprising, about a 70 to 80% chance of seeing some amount of snow across the region on Tuesday. And we are looking at the possibility of some freezing rain. Now, right now, the risk of that is less than 20%, but there is still a risk of some freezing rain and ice on roadways during the day on Tuesday. There is a 40 to 50% chance of at least 2 inches of snow. So this may not be just a novelty snow event. There may be some accumulations, and we're not ruling out the possibility of some significant accumulations with this event. A couple of computer models, and I'm not buying at this point, we're showing up to 10 inches. That's not really realistic at this point, but 2 to 4, maybe 2 to 5 inches of snow across parts of the area, not out of the realm of possibility with this system at this point. Of course, with that snow and potential ice, we are going to be looking at travel risks beginning as late as Monday night and continuing through Wednesday, because we're not going to be above freezing very long Tuesday, if at all, and then very quickly falling back below freezing Tuesday night into Wednesday. So any ice and or snow that develops is going to stick through at least Wednesday afternoon. So this is going to be a somewhat long duration event, depending on exactly how it unfolds. The ice and or snow is going to stick around for at least a full day, if not longer. Press the wrong button, as usual. What else is new? Welcome to Donald's Facebook Live. where he presses wrong buttons all the time. All right. This is not exhaustive, but I want to go ahead and throw this up here because we get questions about it all the time. This is actually a list of area announced closures. So most schools across the region have been closed Tuesday and or Wednesday. Again, this is not exhaustive, so make sure to check local TV media outlets for all of the latest regarding exactly what will and will not be open Tuesday and Wednesday. But most of the area schools have been closed Tuesday. The vast majority have also announced closures on Wednesday as well, but make sure to check your local media outlets. That's where all of this has come from. I have not independently verified this. This is all courtesy of KPLC, KATC, KALB, all the local news media outlets that I managed to scour a little bit before I came on the air here. So again, this is not exhaustive, but this should give you at least a beginning idea of what is expected to be closed here over the next couple of days. Those are mainly across Calcasieu. These are parts of South Central and Central Louisiana. You can see the school closures there and the various closures. Again, the vast majority of them are going to be both January 21st, that's Tuesday, and January 22nd, that's Wednesday. So both Tuesday and Wednesday for most areas, but not all. Some have only announced Tuesday closures, and we'll make a decision for Wednesday later. So that hopefully gives you a little bit of an idea as far as what specifically is closed. And if I didn't mention at the top of the briefing here, all of these graphics will be available on our social media pages as soon as we wrap up our briefing here this evening. Let's go ahead and talk about timing of the potential winter weather here. You can see the graphic here showing the precipitation timing. This is specifically for Southeast Texas. I'll show Louisiana here in just a moment. But generally speaking, we're going to be looking at the rain potential, or the precip potential, I should say, increasing from about 9 p.m. Onward for Monday night. So I think you can see the majority, the higher probabilities of precipitation increase after midnight. So I think the vast majority of any winter weather we see is going to be after midnight, Monday night into Tuesday morning and through Tuesday afternoon. You can see we're looking at anywhere between about 40 to about 60% chance of rain during that time frame from about midnight to 3 p.m. Tuesday. That's when we're going to be looking at the potential for winter precipitation, whether it be freezing rain, snow, sleet, what have you. That's the time it's going to fall. Looking at Southwest and Central Louisiana, pretty much the same thing between about midnight and 3 p.m. on Tuesday. You can see the probabilities are actually a little bit higher for Central and Southwest Louisiana for those overall probabilities of precipitation. Now, again, the vast majority of computer models are indicating at this point that the winter precipitation is going to fall as snow. You can see this is the probability of seeing any amount of snow across the region. So, for example, here in Lake Charles, looking at a 74% chance of seeing any amount of snow on Tuesday. For Lafayette, 73%. Alexandria, 70%. You can kind of look at the map here and kind of see where you are. Beaumont, 72%. So generally between about a 70 to 80% chance of seeing some amount of snow during the day on Tuesday. Now, the probability of seeing more than 2 inches of snow is actually relatively high, considering that it's very rare that we see 2 inches of snow. We're looking at almost a 50% chance of seeing 2 inches of snow here in the Lake Charles area, 45% chance over towards Lafayette, 41 up towards Alexandria, 36 to 40 across parts of Jefferson County. So essentially anywhere between about 40 and 50% across most of the region. There's a little bit lower probabilities down towards lower Acadiana, Iberia, St. Martin, St. Mary parishes, about a 20 to 30% chance. But still, that's relatively high for 2 inches of snow across the area. So we are right now forecasting at least some accumulation of snow on Tuesday as this storm system moves through. This is the probability of seeing more than 4 inches of snow. This would make you a pretty good snowman. We're looking at anywhere between about a 20 to 30% chance right now of seeing more than 4 inches of snow across most of the region. A little bit lower, again, across lower Acadiana for Iberia, St. Martin, St. Mary, about a 10 to 20% chance. But generally speaking, about a 1 in 3 chance of seeing at least 4 inches of snow across the area. This is the probability of seeing more than 6 inches of snow. So we're looking at anywhere between about 10 to 20% chance, maybe 25% across parts of Central Louisiana of seeing more than 6 inches of snow. That's a half foot of snow in South Louisiana and Southeast Texas. That's pretty impressive. Now, again, that's about 1 in 5 right now. These probabilities are subject to change here over the next couple of days through the weekend. So we will continue to keep you updated. We are going to keep doing these live briefings through the weekend to provide you with the latest updates on that. So rather than giving you, I can't tell you specifically exactly how much snow we're going to see, but you got the probabilities there. That kind of gives you an idea. It looks like most likely between about 2 and 4 inches. Greater than 6 inches, not out of the realm of possibility, but pretty low. We're about a 1 in 5 chance. And anything higher than that would get kind of on the extreme end with this particular system. Now, we are looking still at the possibility of some ice accumulation from freezing rain. This may be a situation where we start out as snow and transition to freezing rain, or it could be a situation, depending on exactly how it evolves, where we look at freezing rain instead of snow for most of the day. That would definitely be disappointing, but we'll see how that goes. Generally speaking, we're looking at about a 20% chance of freezing rain, and this is essentially along and south of the I-10 corridor right now. I think areas further to the north, the further north you go, the lower the probabilities of freezing rain get. You can see across parts of, say, northern Tyler, Jasper, Newton, all of Vernon, Rapides, Avoyelles, there's virtually no chance right now of seeing freezing rain. Now, that could change, but right now we are not looking at much in the way of any kind of freezing rain up that way. Generally speaking, 20-ish% along and south of the I-10 corridor, 5 to 10% kind of south of 190, and then no appreciable percent chance of freezing rain north of there at this point. This is the probability of seeing 1/10 of an inch or greater of freezing rain. Now, or ice accumulation, I should say. Essentially, this is the point at what we start seeing significant impacts, road closures, power lines going down, stuff like that associated with freezing rain. You can see the probabilities are actually even lower. So we're looking at 10% or less, generally along and south of the I-10 corridor for those ice accumulations. So right now, this is a bit of an outlier event. We're not expecting significant ice accumulations. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's not something that we're expecting to be occurring at this point. Let's talk now about the extreme cold a little bit. We'll come back to the snow here in a little bit. We are going to be looking at very low temperatures. Again, that air mass moves in Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. These are our forecast low temperatures Sunday night into Monday morning. You can see low 20s across central Louisiana and interior parts of southeast Texas, mid-20s along the I-10 corridor, and upper 20s right along the immediate coastline. For Monday night into Tuesday morning, pretty much the same. Lower 20s, central Louisiana, interior southeast Texas, central 20s along the I-10 corridor, upper 20s along the immediate coastline. This is Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. This is going to be our coldest night of this event by far. So let me see if I can move me out the way so you can see me down in Morgan City. We're going to be looking at teens across most of the region with low to mid 20s right along the immediate coastline. But you can see ranging from about 15 to 18 across most of the rest of the area. So it is going to be very cold out there. We're going to add some wind chill values in there here in just a second. Also, that's going to make it feel even colder. Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we're back into the mid 20s across most of the area. Maybe staying above freezing right along the immediate coastline, but all of these days we're expecting the risk to pipes. So we definitely want to wrap pipes and run water for essentially these at least 3 nights, if not beyond, for that, because we're going to be well below freezing for a long duration period of time. I'm going to tell I have graphics for that here in just a minute. This is a further breakdown of the minimum temperatures next week, every 6 hours or thereabouts. So you can see what we're looking at in terms of timing. You can see, even though we are going to get above freezing, most likely Monday, it's not going to be for very long, maybe 3-4 hours or so Monday afternoon. By Tuesday, you can see most of the area struggles to get above freezing at all. It's a possibility that we may stay below freezing for up to 48 hours in some locations. If we do get above freezing Tuesday afternoon, it'll only be for an hour or two. It's not going to be for very long, and then we're going to quickly fall back below freezing again. We are expecting to get above freezing sometime Wednesday afternoon, but again, it's only going to be for a few hours, maybe between about noon and 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon before we fall back below freezing again. And then we are expecting freezes again Thursday night into Friday morning, but they're not expected to be as widespread or quite as significant. Same thing for central and southwest Louisiana. You can see long duration freeze expected Monday, getting above freezing Monday afternoon for a little while, possibly not getting above freezing Tuesday afternoon. So we may go from Monday evening till Wednesday afternoon, staying below freezing across the area. So that's 30 to 40 hours below freezing in some locations if we don't get above freezing at any point Tuesday afternoon. We are going to be looking at windy conditions in the wake of that frontal boundary. That cold front's going to move through Sunday, so we are going to be looking at strong and gusty northerly winds developing behind it. You can see winds there 20 to 25 miles an hour. This is for central and southwest Louisiana. I'll show you southeast Texas in just a moment, but you can see those strong northerly to northeasterly winds. That's going to add to the wind chill factor on top of the already very cold temperature. So you can see even higher across southeast Texas, gusting as high as possibly 30 miles an hour. Well, I got those backwards. That's okay. That's actually the southwest Louisiana cities, and I got the title wrong. That's okay. I put these together very quickly. Forgive me. The point is, it's going to be windy. And then when we add those wind chill values in, this is what we're going to be looking at. So Sunday night and Monday morning, we'll be looking at those wind chill values in the teens across pretty much the entire area, but about 15 to 20 or thereabouts, with wind gusts up to 30 miles an hour. Monday night into Tuesday, again in the mid-teens, about 15 degrees or thereabouts. That's the feels like temperature. Now, keep in mind, when we're talking about wind chills, this has no bearing on pipes freezing or anything that is not human skin. This is specifically as the temperature relates to human skin. And the reason for that is the moisture on human skin evaporates, okay? And the faster the wind blows, there's a layer of heat that develops right along the skin and moisture along with it. When the wind blows, it blows that layer of heat away. So it actually feels much colder than it actually is, because the heat that would normally warm your body is being blown away by the wind. So this is only relative to human skin. Animals, not usually so much unless they don't have hair. Any animal with fur, dogs, cats, unless they're bald, things like that, they have a protection from that wind. That heat layer is not going to blow away as readily. We only got this thin little layer of hair here, and it doesn't do anything for me. I'm not hairy enough. That's okay. But the point is that the wind chill has no bearing on anything other than actual human skin. So it's not going to have anything to do with the pipes freezing or at the time or the times at which pipes will freeze. Now, as we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday, we're talking about wind chill values in the single digits, 10 degrees or less. You can see that the nines there kind of dotting the area. So that is going to be, again, the coldest night. It's also going to be the coldest night for potential wind chills as well, because we're still going to be looking at wind gusts 20 plus miles an hour or thereabouts. As we get into Wednesday night and Thursday, we're still looking at wind chill values 20 in the lower 20s. This is going to be not quite as significant of a wind chill, because the winds will have come down by then. So the wind gusts will only be 5 or 10 miles an hour. So the wind chill and the actual temperatures are going to be closer together Wednesday night into Thursday. Nonetheless, we are still looking at some significant and life-threatening wind chills in the 20s Wednesday night into Thursday. This is another graphic kind of showing the timing of the wind chills and the most significant wind chills. We're going to be looking at, again, late Sunday night into Monday morning, and then pretty much the entire day Tuesday, we're going to be looking at wind chill values in the teens and 20s as we get into Wednesday morning as well. By Wednesday afternoon, we'll still be right around freezing for those wind chill values, and it's going to stay pretty miserably cold out there pretty much throughout the entire week, essentially. We're not going to get back into above the 40s really until sometime next weekend, maybe. So it's going to be very, very cold out there, and it's going to stay that way for quite a while. Now let's talk about the timing of hours below freezing. This is relevant to when and how significant the risk is for pipes to freeze. So anything more than about 6 hours below freezing is enough to freeze pipes. And you can see we're well above that pretty much everywhere. Even right along the immediate coastline, in some areas, we're 8+ hours below freezing. So this is Sunday night into Monday morning. This is the first night after the cold front passage. We're looking at up to 14 to 15 hours below freezing, especially across central Louisiana, interior southeast Texas. This is more than enough to cause significant pipe concerns. Monday night into Tuesday, pretty much the same thing, anywhere between about 10 to 15 hours, 16 hours up across parts of Vernon Parish below freezing. Tuesday night into Wednesday, look at this. Again, we may not rise above freezing at any point Tuesday, and then it'll fall obviously more below freezing Tuesday night into Wednesday. So anywhere you see the 24s, that's the kind of the dark purplish, bluish color there, that are areas where we're not expecting. This is a 24-hour forecast, so this is areas where we're not expecting to get above freezing at all Tuesday into Wednesday. So again, we're looking at very, very long duration period of time below freezing. This is very much going to be a risk for pipes and pets. You can see that the red there is 14+ hours. You can see that extends even into parts of the Gulf of Mexico with air temperatures below freezing for a long duration. We might get a few icicles right along the Gulf of Mexico or along the beach there even. For Wednesday night into Thursday, again, we're looking at 12+ to 15 hours. We will get above freezing for a few hours Wednesday afternoon, so that's why the values are a little bit lower. But we're still looking at a long duration freeze Wednesday night into Thursday. So pretty much every day this week, we're going to be looking at a long duration freeze and risk to pipes across the region. All right, so that's what we have here this evening from the National Weather Service. I'll be happy to answer your questions here over the next little while. We are going to continue to provide these updates through the event. So I'm going to try to do it, I think, twice a day. We're going to try to do it in the morning and again in the evening. So our next briefing will be tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. And then we'll have another one tomorrow evening. We'll probably plan to do that around 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. That's kind of my plan right now for this, is to do it kind of twice a day, in the morning and again in the evening. So if you don't have any questions, you want to head on out, feel free to do so. If you do have a question, stick around, throw it in my comments here. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and X, and I'll be happy to answer them here over the next few minutes. Let me go ahead and I'm going to back this up just a bit. Well, all the way back to the beginning. And then I'll check to see if we do have any questions. If you have a question you threw in right at the beginning of the briefing, I may not be able to see it. So throw it back in there again. I'll be happy to answer it for you. Amber says our local weather has a snow cone of uncertainty. I've been hearing that all day today. That's the newest inside joke around here. We're in the snow cone of uncertainty. That is very clever. And kind of makes me want a snowball. Let's see. That Scylla says, I don't know where Apple gets their weather forecast from, but Google gets theirs from the Weather Channel, I believe, which is worth it. And so on. Well, here's let me talk about this just real quick here. I'm having a lot of people say we've been seeing this on our apps for weeks, or last 2 weeks ago it said it was going to snow and we had nothing. Here's the thing to keep in mind about weather apps. Okay, they have their value by all means. Weather apps, though, they use model data to inform their forecast products. So they don't have somebody actually creating that forecast every day for your specific area, the way the Weather Service does. We have people here, they actually create this forecast. There's eyes on it, actually looking at it. The apps that are out there, they take a computer model, for example, the GFS, just as an example. I'm not saying that that's the specific one. And then they take those numbers and values off of the latest GFS run, and that's what is presented to you as a forecast. But that's often very inaccurate, and it often changes wildly. As we talk about, never actually look at only one model run at a time, or one model, one iteration of a model. Well, that's exactly what those apps do. So they have a tendency to either over or underestimate things. As you've no doubt noticed, they can be wildly inaccurate in terms of the start and stop times of rainfall. And they tend to swing back and forth a lot. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at weather forecasts on apps. I know a lot of people look at those, and that's fine. But keep in mind that that's just a model, and it's subject to wild swings and a lot of inaccuracies as well. Keith asks, can it be spring yet? No, Keith, it's January. It cannot be spring yet. It can be spring in March and April and May, and by then it'll be 90 degrees again. But no, it's January. It's got to be cold. Them's the rules. I don't make the rules. Natalie says, I'm not leaving the house if the weather isn't even legal to drink. That's fair. That's reasonable. Anything under 21, and no, we're not going out. Melanie asks, so just ice in Vermilion Parish? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. We're looking at right now, the probabilities are much higher for snow than they are for ice. We're looking at let me come back over here. So we're looking at roughly about a 70% chance of snow across, you're asking about Vermilion Parish. Yeah, roughly about a 70% chance of snow on Tuesday, and compare that to a roughly, let me see, ice accumulation. We're looking at roughly about a 10 to maybe 20% chance of ice accumulation from freezing rain across Vermilion Parish. So much more likely that we're going to be looking at snow than freezing rain in Vermilion Parish. Not out of the realm of possibility, we could see both, or we could see more freezing rain, but right now the probabilities favor snow. Jeremy asks, why do you always use I-10 as who gets what? What kind of concrete do they use to make y'all say if y'all are north or south of it, or if that, what's so special about the interstate when it comes to weather? I need to invest in interstate concrete. What the difference is, there's two reasons why we use that. One, everybody knows where it is, okay? And you'd be surprised at how many people don't know where they are on a map, okay? But most people know where I-10 is, and they know whether they're north or south of it. So that's why it's a geographical delineation, for one thing. Two, areas south of I-10 come under more influence of what's called the marine layer and the marine influence of the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see, you know, if we look at, let me show the low temperatures here just as an example. You can see how north of I-10, you can see I-10 there, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Beaumont, we're essentially looking at a fairly uniform temperature spread, 23 to about 25 degrees. South of I-10, we're looking at several degrees warmer, 28, 29, right along the immediate coastline. It's a little bit more easier to delineate kind of on this graphic here. You can see most areas north of I-10, 24 to 26. South of I-10, you know, coastal portions of Jefferson, Cameron, Vermilion, those areas, 33, 34. So we're looking at, it's about the air mass and kind of how the Gulf of Mexico and the marine layer interacts with the land. So I know it sounds like it's an arbitrary thing, but it's really not. There is some value there and some reasoning for why we choose that location. Also, it's a location that everybody knows and is aware of. So no, it has nothing to do with the quality of the concrete. Terry asks, should we get snow snackies? Yes, snow snackies. What would be a good snow snacky? I don't know, it's king cake season. We can get some king cake. It's not her cake, but it's king cake. What else would be a good snow snacky? Audrey asks, is this storm/snow going to affect electricity? There is the possibility of some power outages for any number of reasons. For one, it's going to be gusty. We're going to have some gusty winds out there, and anytime we get gusty winds, we have the potential for some branches getting knocked down onto power lines. We could be looking at, you know, higher use of electricity, especially heat, as it relates to the very cold temperatures that we're going to be experiencing. That could potentially overload the system and cause some power outages. I don't expect widespread power outages, though, unless we see significant amount of ice. There are going to be pockets of power outages here and there, but I don't expect most of the area to be out of power. This is not a hurricane, but we could see a few areas, you know, power outages due to, again, branches on power lines, high usage resulting in some brownouts in a couple of locations, depending on exactly how that works out. But I don't expect widespread power outages everywhere. That said, you should be prepared for periods of power outages. You know, have an alternative source of heat if the power goes out, or at least have, you know, blankets and coats and stuff to wrap up in if it does wind up getting cold in your house because of a power outage. But snow itself is generally not going to result in significant power outages the way that an ice storm would. Snow blows off of power lines. It blows off of tree branches. It doesn't attach and accumulate and get really heavy and bring it down the way that ice does. Christina asks, with these conditions, would you say that driving would be difficult? It potentially could be. You know, snow itself, you can drive on snow. Snow actually has some friction. It's not like a smooth layer of ice. People drive on snow all the time. The problem is going to come if we start seeing snow Tuesday morning, Tuesday kind of middle of the day, and then we get above freezing for a few hours, that snow begins to melt a little bit. Then we get below freezing again Tuesday evening, it freezes. Now you've got a layer of ice underneath that snow, or part of the snow itself. That can have the potential to get very, very slick. So especially bridges and overpasses, yes, I expect that to become an issue. Even areas that are on the ground, roadways that are linked firmly to the ground, will have the potential to have some ice on them. So yes, I do expect travel to become hazardous Tuesday, potentially as early as Tuesday morning, but especially by Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening. Glenda asks, will this snow accumulation be comparable to what happened in February 2021? Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of using that as a bit of a proxy for what we're expecting here. The numbers aren't going to be exactly the same. That would be incredible if we could get, the exact same numbers. So no, we're not expecting the exact same numbers, but the same kind of air mass is going to be in place. Very, very cold conditions, pipe bursting temperatures, and we are going to be looking at snowfall accumulations. Right now, the best estimate is between about 2 and 4 inches. We could see less than that. We could see a little bit more, but that's kind of what we're anticipating right now. Terry asks, is there any chance of thunder snow? That's not something that we really predict. Not completely ruling it out, to be honest. Thunder snow, for those of you who are not familiar, is essentially when you get lightning and thunder within a snowstorm. We're going to have to see how convective the snow squalls actually are. That's very rare, so it's not something we see very often. It's not something that we predict, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. Jonathan, who is he's our service hydrologist here at the Weather Service, he's chiming in on here. Sleet is, and he's right, sleet is treated as snow accumulation. So in 2021, we had a pretty good amount of sleet that was counted as snowfall. So that's something to kind of bear in mind too. Justin asks again, is it supposed to be better or worse than the freeze in February of 21? We're looking at temperatures that are going to be kind of on par with that. So we're looking at roughly, again, it's not exact, but roughly a similar amount of time below freezing and similar temperatures and wind chill values as what we saw in 2021. So yeah, if you whatever preparations you made, or rather if you didn't make preparations and you had damage or problems in 2021, you want to make the same or increased precautions for this event. Rusty asks, what about a fish kill when it's that cold close to the coast? I don't know that much about fish and what temperatures they're killed at, so I can't really speak intelligently about that. Now, water temperatures cool off much slower than air temperature. So you may have an air temperature that's in the teens over the water temperature will still probably be in the 50s or 60s. And then it would take days and days and days for that water to kind of cool off enough to become a threat. I'm not sure at what temperature. Of course, it probably depends what species of fish. I don't know. We'd have to talk to a marine biologist for that. Adam says, is that a mini V in the neck of that shirt? No, it's a microphone. See? Microphone. Cindy asks, how likely are we to lose electricity? Not particularly likely. I do think there probably will be a few power outages across the area, again, because we're going to be looking at gusty winds. So we're going to be looking at the potential for tree branches to fall onto power lines. We could be looking at, obviously, much higher use of electricity for heating than we typically do in this part of the world. So that could result in a few power outages, but I don't expect widespread power outages unless, here's the big caveat, we see significant ice accumulation. If we're looking at higher probabilities of freezing rain and we see ice accumulation, then we'll be talking about more in the way of power outages. Snow generally doesn't cause a lot in the way of power outages, though. So if this falls as a snow event, we get a couple of inches of snow, that's not by itself going to cause significant power outages. Katie asks, why is Beauregard Parish jumped over? Because I hate you. I hate Beauregard Parish and everything it stands for and everything it is and everything it'll ever be. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't pass over Beauregard Parish. What are you talking about? It's right there. You see it there on the map? Let me pull it up here. Make it big for you. So there's Beauregard Parish. See, right up there above DeQuincy. So we're looking at roughly about a 75% chance of snow, not rain. 75% chance of snow on Tuesday. And then coming forward here, we're looking at roughly about a 50% chance of greater than 2 inches of snow, and a roughly 30 to 40% chance of greater than 4 inches of snow in the Beauregard Parish area. and even a 20% chance of greater than 6 inches of snow. Not out of the realm of possibility there. As far as what to expect for Beauregard Parish for everything else, it's going to be cold. It's a pretty uniform air mass, so it's going to be very similar across the entire region. So lows in the mid-20s, Sunday night into Monday morning, same thing. Monday night into Tuesday morning. The coldest night is going to be Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. We're going to be looking at actual temperatures in the mid-teens and wind chill values in the single digits. So it's going to be very, very cold out there Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Melissa says, what do you think the roadways will be like on Wednesday morning around 7 o'clock? I think if you see any kind of snow and or ice on Tuesday, it's going to stay in place Wednesday morning, because we're going to be looking at temperatures. If they get above freezing Tuesday afternoon, it's just going to be for a couple of hours. Then we're going to fall quickly back below freezing. So we're going to be looking at any snow that falls Tuesday is going to stay in place through Wednesday, at least Wednesday afternoon. So Wednesday morning, or if there's snow and or ice on the roads Tuesday, there's going to be snow and ice on the road Wednesday morning. Jim asks, how much water is a trickle of water that we let run from the faucets during these freezing periods? A trickle, a little bit, just a very thin line. Thinnest little line, that much. Mm-hmm. A trickle. Now, just enough to not have separation between the water drops. Dadzilla says, considering your illustrious reputation, maybe we call you the Donald. I think that name's already taken. I think there's another Donald that has a public personality somewhere. I don't know. Natalie asks, who ticked off Elsa? No, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Although I do like cold, I'm not going to lie. Sarah asks, I can't remember, have we gotten this cold before for this long? Yeah, well, I mean, the most recent proxy and kind of what we've been talking about was back in 2021. We had a long duration that was several days of freezing temperatures, and we had winter precip with that as well. So yeah, we had one just 3 years ago. On average, in terms of snowfall, the Lake Charles area receives a snow once every about 6 years. It's a little bit higher further to the north, up towards Alexandria. It's closer to once every 4 years. So it's not an uncommon occurrence. You know, it's not an every year thing by any means, but it's not altogether unheard of. And this kind of cold, again, the most recent one was only about 3 years ago. So again, not unheard of, but not particularly common either. Gad asks, can I speak about possible road hazards? The road hazards are going to be the potential for slick spots due to ice and or snow. Again, like we talked about, assuming the most likely scenario right now, which is we see some snowfall, 2 to 4 inches. Snow in and of itself it has friction. You can drive over snow without much of a problem. The concern is if the temperatures get above freezing, especially Tuesday afternoon, and that snow begins to melt a little bit and then refreezes Tuesday evening into Tuesday night, now you have a layer of smooth ice, okay? And that will have the potential to be hazardous. So yeah, for essentially Tuesday into Wednesday, we're gonna be looking at hazardous road conditions, especially bridges and overpasses. By Wednesday afternoon, we are gonna get above freezing for a significant amount of time. It's not gonna be all day, but it is gonna be several hours. So that should be enough for a lot of the ice to melt and run off. But essentially, anytime Tuesday or Wednesday morning, we're going to be looking at road hazards in the form of ice. Mike says, Donald's going to have to get a black sweater next week. I don't have a black sweater. I have a black jacket. It's different. It's fancy. Let's see, just looking through questions here. Bear with me just a moment. Sarah says, I can't remember. Have we gotten this cold before for this long? Yeah, again, back in 2021, it was a similar situation where we had multiple days of below freezing temperatures and pipe busting weather. So yeah, just 3 years ago. It hasn't been that long. And yeah, this is by no means close to our record low temperatures. We have record low temperatures going back into the single digits. So we're not going to be, this is going to be very cold, but it's not going to be record cold across the area. Okay, trying to catch up. I'm like 20 minutes behind on questions. Terry asks, any chance to see the lakes freeze up? We are going to be looking at, again, very long duration period of freezing temperatures. So it wouldn't surprise, the whole lake is not going to freeze, but right along the shore, it wouldn't be surprised me if we get some sheets of ice, especially in very shallow areas. Again, the whole lake's not going to freeze over. It would have to be weeks below freezing for that. But we could see some very thin sheets of ice right along the shore. Joshua asks, how long does it take asphalt to cool? I don't have the exact numbers. There's a formula for it. But the thing is, we're going to be looking at the cold air coming in well before the potential snow. So we're going to be looking at, very cold, potentially sub-freezing conditions for a good 24 plus hours before the potential snow actually develops. So that's going to be enough. That will be enough time for the asphalt to cool to at least freezing, if not below freezing, to potentially hold or any kind of snow accumulation. So yeah, the asphalt will be cold enough for snow accumulation by then, by Tuesday. Natalie says, be prepared for water shortages like last time with everyone trickling water. It causes shortages. That is true. If everybody, especially in major cities, is running their water to keep their pipes, that does cause lower water pressure, and in some cases the water to stop. Now, hopefully that's not the case, but yeah, at a minimum, we're probably going to be looking at a lower water pressure for during that time frame. That does make firefighters' job more difficult, but yeah, that's kind of the nature of winter down here. Anytime we have a bunch of people running their water at the same time, we do get lower water pressures. Tara thinks I'm hilarious. I am hilarious. I'm a funny guy. I got to be entertaining. Kate says, I got enough salt for my gumbo, but should I spread some rock salt on my porch so I don't bust my butt going outside? Here's what you do. You take the gumbo, you heat it up really warm, and you throw it on the porch. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. It's a perfectly good waste of gumbo. Salt does dissolve ice. So if you have ice accumulation, again, snow has friction. You're not going to slip inside on just snow. But if there's a layer of ice, you can dump some salt out there. That would melt the ice. Now, what you could do if you don't have a lot of salt to waste is if you have sand, just put some sand out. Kitty litter also works just as well. Just something to give you some friction, something to step on that'll give you some traction. Will stop you from slipping and sliding in the ice. So yeah, a lot of people use kitty litter. It's biodegradable. You can just spread it out everywhere and it's fine. Or sand works just as well. Now, it's not going to necessarily melt the snow or the ice, but it will keep you from sliding on it. T-Boy Black is very upset that I'm blocking St. Mary Parish with my beautiful face. I'm sorry, T-Boy. I'll try to get out the way next time. Lorelei says, LUS texted in Lafayette, they will be out trimming tree limbs. That is definitely a good thing for the potential for ice. But again, if we get snow instead of ice, Snow is going to blow off of tree branches, so it's not likely to cause them to fall and break. If we get any kind of ice accumulation on the tree branches from freezing rain, that's when the risk of tree branches breaking comes. Of course, we also have the risk of tree branches breaking from those gusty winds that we're going to be looking at Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and, yeah, for a while. Christina says, y'all, please don't binge buy the toilet paper. Okay. In my professional meteorological opinion, now remember, I have a college degree. Okay. So I'm a degreed meteorologist. Snow does not increase the amount that you poop. So the amount of toilet paper that you need for June, same amount of toilet paper you need for this event. If you're out of toilet paper, go get some. If you have toilet paper, that'll make it through the rest of the week, you're good. You're not going to be in a situation where you're not going to be able to get to a store to get toilet paper for a month. Poop liberally. Stephen says the OEP said in their briefing to not do a stream, steady trickle, only a dripping of water, not a streaming. It affects the water pressure for the area in general. It's going to affect the water pressure for the area in general regardless with that many faucets running at the same time. Now, you do need to have it running enough because running water takes a colder temperature to freeze at. So you do need it running enough to prevent the pipe from actually freezing. But a thin trickle, just enough to prevent the drops from separating is enough. It's very, very little. Andrea says, what time Sunday can we expect the winds to start? Let me go ahead and I'm going to come back to the full screen here and I'll pull that graphic up for you. We can take a look. There it is. So this particular one is for central Louisiana. So you can see by midnight Sunday morning, we're going to be looking at those wind gusts already 20 plus miles an hour. So we're going to be looking at the cold front itself will be coming through Sunday morning, and those winds are going to be picking up by Sunday morning. So most of the day Sunday, we're going to be looking at strong winds, and that's going to continue Monday and into Tuesday. They will come down, it looks like, on Wednesday. But Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we're going to be looking at gusty winds, 20, 25, maybe even up to 30 miles an hour in some locations. Let me get out the way here so what's his face on YouTube doesn't get mad at me again. I live to serve. All right. Jackie says, I work at night. Should I stay home on that night? If you're talking about Tuesday night, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I would definitely contact your work and see, collaborate on that. Don't just not show up. But in general, yeah, roads are going to be potentially hazardous Tuesday night. Sarah says, instead of trickling water, is it safer to just turn off the valve outside? That's also an option. Yes, absolutely. You can turn the water off completely. After you do that, open your faucets to let the water out of the lines. Then there's no water to freeze in the line. So yes, that is an option too, very much. And that'll work. That'll be just as effective as running water. Warren asked, probably already been asked, but can we expect ice on the roads in the Lafayette-Borough Bridge area? Right now, it looks like that snow is more likely. You can see the snow graphic here. We're looking at a 70+% chance of snow as opposed to ice. There is still a low-end probability of ice. We're looking at about a 20% chance of seeing freezing rain. There it is. A little bit lower, actually, over towards Lafayette, closer to 10%. But the problem is, besides the potential for freezing rain, we're also looking at the risk of any snow we see potentially melting very briefly Tuesday afternoon and then refreezing as ice Tuesday evening into Tuesday night. So yes, to answer your question shortly, there is going to be a risk of ice on especially bridges. But yeah, roads in Lafayette, and the Breaux Bridge area Tuesday evening into Tuesday night, there will be the risk of ice, yes. Natalie says, will Tony's do if we run out of salt? Tony's actually has salt in it, I think. So yes, that would work. And that would be a very expensive way to go about it. And a perfectly good waste of Tony's. But you could do it. I mean, it would work. All right. All right, y'all just getting silly now. Will I be able to do donuts on my golf cart on the roads? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see if your road actually gets some ice on it. Brenda says her sin, I think you mean son, is flying in Wednesday from Texas. Do you think there will be a problem? There is the potential for, just like there's potential for ice on roads, there will also be the potential for ice on runways. Now, most airports have methods of dealing with that. They can, put out salt, they can treat the runway, etc. Depending on how fast it falls and how quickly they have personnel and resources to deal with that remains to be seen. There is the potential for delays. There will be the potential for cancellations Tuesday evening into Wednesday because of that. Planes, of course, they can be de-iced, so that's not as much of an issue. But the runways themselves, if those ice up, then you could be looking at some significant delays or cancellations. I can't tell you with certainty whether that's going to happen or not, but that's the risk. Jimmy and Natasha asked, how much snow do you think we'll get in DeRidder? Right now, our best estimate is going to be somewhere between about 2 and 4 inches. Let me go ahead and I've got probabilities here. I'm not talking exact amounts here. But right now for the DeRidder area, we're looking at roughly about a 75% chance of seeing some amount of snow, any amount. That would be from a single flake to a snowpocalypse buried up to your eyeballs. No, we're not going to get all of that. But we're looking at roughly about a 75% chance of any amount of snow. Now, there's roughly about a 50% chance of seeing greater than 2 inches of snow. There's roughly about a 35% chance of seeing greater than 4 inches of snow. So that's most likely right now, between about 2 and 4 inches of snow. And then there's about a 25% chance of 6 inches of more or snow. So that's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's not particularly likely at the moment. So right now, our best estimate is between about 2 and 4 inches. Janelle, who's one of our lead forecasters here, says someone should put kitty litter along the upper air walkway so the ankles are not broken again. That's an inside office joke. We did have a forecaster here once who we had an ice event, and he went outside to launch the weather balloon and fell and broke his ankle. So we are just as subject to the whims of Mother Nature as everyone else. And nobody said we were smarter. Christina's asking about a snowfall estimate accumulation map. Again, we're talking what we just talked about there. Generally, we're expecting between about 2 and 4 inches. I don't have an exact number for you at this point, but the probabilities are for between about 2 and 4 inches of snow at this point. There's about a 50% chance of more than 2 inches, and which makes it a 50% chance of less than 2 inches too. And then about a 30% chance of more than 4 inches. Caitlin says, what's the worst case scenario? We're going to get snow and ice, but could this be a storm for the records? Not likely, because the storm of record was actually way back in 1895 here in the Lake Charles area, where we got 20 inches of snow. Now that is very unlikely to happen again in this case. Even in a worst case scenario, we're not expecting that much. The second highest snowfall amount in Lake Charles is 4 inches, and that's more realistic around the area. That is within striking range. You know, we're not ruling out the possibility of 4 inches or a little bit more of snow accumulation with that. But no, we're not going to touch the record, which is 20 inches. All right, I finally made it to the bottom of my question list. So if you do have a question, I've got about 4-ish more minutes. So I can do some quick and dirty question and answers here if you have some real quick before we get off the air here. Again, we are going to do another one of these briefings tomorrow morning. We're going to plan on doing it at 7 a.m. and then we'll have another one for you at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. So that'll be the timing for the next briefings with regards to these. And I expect that these snowfall numbers are probably going to climb a little bit, continue to climb a little bit overnight and into tomorrow. April asks, just coming in. Oh, missed question, April. Just coming in, how long will the snow stay on the ground? Well, the snow is going to be falling Tuesday, and it's going to stay on the ground at least until Wednesday afternoon, because we're not going to get above freezing until Wednesday afternoon. So roughly about at least 24 hours or thereabout, if not a little more than that. And if it manages to survive the few hours we're above freezing Wednesday afternoon, it'll stay on the ground until Thursday afternoon. Brandy asks, do we need to worry about ice dams on roofs like in 2021? I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to when you say ice dams on roofs. You're going to have to give me some clarification on that, because I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. Claudia asks, is this the last big freeze for the season? I can't say that with any kind of certainty. Generally, no. We still tend to see freezes all the way through February and potentially into early March. So I doubt this is going to be the last freeze for the season. Leslie says, I'll watch the recording. I'll be asleep at 7 a.m. I don't blame you, Leslie. I'd love to be asleep at 7 a.m., but I'm working overnight, so I got to be awake for it. So you're welcome to watch the recording, or you can watch the evening one. Sheila says, driving from Houston to Lake Charles on Monday evening, shouldn't have any issues. Right. Probably not. I don't think we're not going to be looking at the precip beginning until after midnight in the most likely case. Eben says, will you allow a tape measure instead of a yardstick for reports? I don't got one, but I will use MPing. No, we need an actual physical stick as opposed to a tape measure, because the tape measure can bend and move around, so that's not a very accurate representation. So if you're going to take a snow measurement, I should probably I'm going to try to put a graphic on here on how to take snow measurements for next time. But no, you definitely need a regular stick. A tape measure is not going to cut it. Brandy, responding to my need for clarification, says, when ice builds up on blocks, melting ice, and it causes your roof to leak. I had one on my porch in 2021 for the layer of ice we had in DeRidder. That's interesting. I'm actually not particularly familiar with that. That said, we're not expecting, again, the probabilities of ice at this point are relatively low, and they're even lower up in the DeRidder area. So we're looking at roughly about a 20% chance along and south of the I-10 corridor, and officially 0% chance in DeRidder, but it's essentially very low probability of seeing significant freezing rain and ice accumulation as of right now. Snow is not going to be the same as ice, because snow is going to blow off of your roof in most cases, especially with the winds that we're going to be dealing with. So I don't expect that to be the case again for you, unless we see more significant expectation of ice accumulation. Lamar wants some pralines. Don't we all, Lamar? Get that stupid Falcons logo off of your page, Lamar. I don't like your attitude. Candace asks, do you know how many inches of snow we got in the last snowstorm? The last event, I think, was, the last snow was in 21? I think it was in 21. I think that was somewhere around 2 inches or thereabout, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go look. We did get some ice last year, but that was ice accumulation more so than snow. Leslie asked, so what about visibility with blowing snow? I was waiting for somebody to ask me if we were going to get a blizzard. You know, we are going to be looking at blowing snow, and that does tend to reduce visibilities. So that is going to be an issue. I don't think it's going to get down to the quarter mile necessary for blizzard conditions, and we're not going to get to the wind speeds required for blizzard conditions either. But yeah, blowing snow does tend to reduce visibility. So again, if you're out driving in the snow, besides the ice and snow on the roadways, that's something that's going to have to be dealt with also, is the reduction in visibilities due to the snow. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Again, if you have a question that you think of once we get off of our live briefing here, or you think of as you're viewing this as a recording, feel free to shoot us a direct message on Facebook. We'll be happy to answer your questions that way. You can also send us an X message on X. You can also send us a message on Instagram. I've also got my email on the screen there. If you would like to email me directly, it's donald.jones@noaa.gov. So my name with a dot in the middle, donald.jones@noaa, NOAA.gov, G-O-V. You can also give us a call here at our office. We're area code 337-477-5285, and speak to a forecaster directly. We have forecasters here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, including in snow and ice. So we'll be happy to answer your questions that way if you have them. Our next briefing is going to be 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then we'll have another one tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have all the latest and greatest regarding the snow probabilities and what to expect. In conclusion, it's going to be cold, and we're probably going to see some snow around here on Tuesday. It's certainly going to be an interesting and somewhat unusual event for us across the region. So you still have the weekend to prepare. Definitely want to wrap those pipes. Have a plan to protect your pets. Have a plan to protect your plants. Have a plan to protect your people. If you have people that are elderly, infirmed, or otherwise at risk of extreme cold, have a plan to protect them and keep them warm during this event. We had a couple of fatalities during the last extreme cold, and we want to avoid that this time around. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your evening. Stay safe, stay dry, stay warm, and we will talk to you again tomorrow morning.